is going to be a little bit lopsided. You can't really discuss Winchester, Kentucky without Republicans. But as we've mentioned, this is WRFL 88.1, and we will be discussing Winchester and Winchester-related issues for the next 2 hours, although I'm sure we will wander somewhat. So sitting in the studio with me is Charles. You're the chair for the 6th District, right?
That is correct. Can you hear me? Am I good? All right. Yeah, I'm the chair for the 6th District. We serve the 6th Congressional District, although... with this new gerrymandering, we might change our party structure a bit. It's pretty wild out there. I don't know. Have you seen the latest maps, Jeff?
Yeah. They ran your district to Mexico.
They're taking away my treasurer, so I'm not too pleased about that.
Well, does the treasurer have to live in the same district as you?
That's how our bylaws are written. Yes.
Oh, well, that is a problem for you then.
Yes, but we're talking about doing something different. But it was. Needless to say, I am not shocked they do crazy redistricting,
No, but this was pretty wild, even by wild standards. I thought the 2013 redistrict was absolutely ungodly awful. But this this is impressive.
Well, a rumor on the street is that a certain guy from the 1st District has bought a house in Frankfort, and suddenly now Frankfort appears in the 1st District in this new map. So,
and that is why we have the Tipped Cow District, as it is described. It's a charming district. Honestly, the congressional the congressional redistricting was by far the least bad. The state house stuff is crazy. In the congressional redistricting, they cut Bath County into half, and for some reason they decided to run a district from where James Comer is supposed to live to where he actually lives. But other than that, it was more or less rational. You could look at it, you could recognize the shapes of the states. It's not really bad. When you get into the state house, like they split Pulaski County into 5 districts, and one of the districts looks like Donald Trump.
Oh my! I haven't seen Pulaski County yet. That's exciting.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, what they have done is in defiance of all bounds of geography. They tried to make a they tried for a sort of Winston's elbow thing way in eastern Kentucky where they didn't really apparently have never really been to Bikeville and don't realize that there's mountains. Oh man. And so they just drew some lines where districts were and not where mountains and creeks were. And they ended up with a state house district that would take something like a full day to traverse just because it goes straight through just the wildest terrain. Anyway, delightful times here in Kentucky. I'm enjoying the gerrymander. I feel that it's up to us to make them pay for it. And this is a nonpartisan show, so if you're a Republican, you should be ashamed of that and not do that anymore. I'll point out that the last people that gerrymandered Kentucky really badly were extinct, are currently nearly completely extinct from political power. So, maybe...
Gerrymandering, I did watch an Have you ever heard of Intelligence Squared debates?
I don't think so.
It's something that's run by John Van Dam, but they actually, what they do is they bring on a panel of 6 people, and 3 are supposed to be experts on either side of an issue, and they debate it. And it's always a really hot issue, too, typically. I don't know if they're still doing it. They did a few since Corona, but I don't know how many more they've been doing. But I would always tune into that. And they weren't even monthly. Sometimes they'd be every 2 months because it's so hard to find the right experts to debate it. But they had one on there about gerrymandering, and there was some pretty compelling evidence presented that over time it eventually just works against you because eventually you will get voted out anyway.
Oh, so, well, like 2013. Well, it's worth mentioning that our opinions about gerrymandering are, supported by science and rationality and reason, but they do not necessarily represent the views of WRFL. So I'm going to play this real fast.
Please do.
The following program contains views, ideas, and opinions that have been produced by the host DJ and their guests and are not reflective of the views of WRFL or its underwriters. For questions, comments, or concerns, please email programming at wrfl.fm.
See, I told you, and that guy agrees. So these are our ideas, and really, if you are what you eat, I'm just a lot of burritos, a lot of potato tacos, and a little bit of sushi, and that food has some pretty strong opinions about the Kentucky gerrymander. Like, just what the heck? Yeah, in my opinion, gerrymandering in general is like trying to draw a line around confetti when it's midair. It doesn't work it works for a couple things. And in Texas, I was in Texas for the Texas gerrymander, and they were much more adept at using the gerrymander to defend their power. Here in Kentucky, I don't know what's going to happen. I think that do you think they're going to pass legal muster?
I mean, it depends. I guess it really depends on what court it goes across, right? Because we have courts.
That's true.
And we apparently have courts of all kinds of persuasions, because one time a law passes, it goes before one court and Frankfurt gets thrown down, and then it goes through another court and it throws out that court, and I guess it just really depends what court it goes before and how hard people want to sue.
Well, I do have to say that this year, I'm hearing from a lot of quarters that there has never been this much interest in judicial races. People are judicial candidates are drawing challengers across the board, and people are really getting into the race.
Well, and that has been something that I think is an issue you and I both talked about several times, but there definitely seems to be a protection and establishment within the judicial system in this state that has is very. They reward each other so much. I mean, we heard about that thing. Where was that? Was that Owensboro lately? It came out where that lady was like, her son was accused of a crime and she was giving him legal advice, and she was a sitting judge. And then, of course, in Kenton County, we had that crazy lady.
Oh God, is that the one where if you just want a really wild, there's one person, because in Kentucky you can sort of jurisdiction shop with statewide, and it's the Kenton County. Is a lady?
She was a lady who, I believe, if I remember the allegations correctly, she was like having affairs with prosecuting attorney.
Her too?
Yeah, and
that was the same person.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, if you don't get out there and elect more people like that, guys, you're just not going to have more people like that, like judges like that lady. Was she the one that was like having the SEX with bailiffs in the?
Yes, that's
in the
one
courtroom.
I'm referring to. Yes,
people get in some weird stuff.
That is, yeah. So that's pretty much that's how I feel about it. All of these. Yeah. There's just a lot of things. I don't even necessarily believe like the majority of people are bad people or anything like that. It's just the way our current system works in the Commonwealth in particular. Yeah. It just feels like there's a group of establishment people that are constantly protected that really believe they're above the law. Yeah. Like just above the law. The laws don't apply to me. They apply to you. They apply to Charles. They apply to Geoff, but they don't apply to me.
They apply to Robin. Wherever. Yeah, Robin. You too. I'm just going to double check real fast. But I don't know. I wonder to what level these people are aware of what they're doing wrong. Hey. And would it matter? Would it matter if they knew or didn't know? Hello, Robin Kunkel, who is joining us in the studio. How's things?
Good. How are things here?
Pretty good. We don't have to deal with Lexington traffic. We're inside.
We're inside.
It is.
I'm going through a time warp. I was in the studio 10 years ago, so actually more than 10 now. Let's see, 2010. That would have been 12 years ago.
Don't do the math. It just makes you sad.
I was in the studio when it was not in this building.
Mm-hmm.
That was my downfall today.
In the year 2000. Yeah, I've been to this. I mean, not that it's an interesting story, but my first job was actually right outside that window. Like I was a camp counselor for a summer camp here at UK, and I would sit out on those little concrete risers outside the window and watch kids play around there. That was my job.
Yeah. What was the age range there?
I was 1 year older than them, so they would have been 13 and I was 14. I actually thought I got the job because I thought I was signing up to go to the camp, and they thought I was signing up to get a job, so I accidentally ended up working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I had kind of the opposite experience where I felt like the lame kid in my grade because we all went back to like 4-H camp that we had all been going to since like 5th grade. and everybody had aged into the age where you could officially become a counselor. And I was like latched onto my childhood and was like, I want to be a camper one more year. And every single one of my friends became counselors, and so there was this weird dynamic where it's like they're all off being like teenagers, and I was stuck away from them.
I know what you mean. It is a weird dynamic. You're like, oh, I want to take these classes. I don't want to sit in the corner and make sure that other people take these classes. That's fun. Anyway, Charles, Robin, Charles.
How's it going? Hi.
How's life?
I am the 6th District Chair for the Libertarian Party of Kentucky.
Okay, cool.
And we do serve your county. I in case you were aware, I don't know if you were aware. You know, they could change the lines tomorrow, but
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to just like, it's like taking puzzle pieces and throwing them up and seeing where they land.
Yeah.
That works for this year.
I mean, I'm glad they're having fun, but it's pretty wild. At least they gave us an extra 3 weeks to get more candidates. That was fun.
yeah.
I think we got a couple more. So, yeah, bring the microphone. Who's this? And it's got an arm, and you just pull that forward or
Got it. Yeah,
scream, yelling. I don't know. Everything
you.
works. So, today we are discussing the place that many of you have heard of, but maybe have never seen. There's screws on the side, and if you tighten them.
Yeah. You can see how long it's been since I've been in a radio station. It's been a long time.
Yeah, this was a tube amp last time I was here. So, as you young folks may or may not be aware, at the end of Winchester Road is a fabulous land called Winchester.
See, you'd think people would understand why the roads are named what they are,
Yeah.
but that led to my mom being lost for about 4 hours one night. I mean, she eventually, I think, just gave up and was like, screw it, I'm driving home. She had a hotel booked and everything. She never made it. I think she circled the entirety of Lexington, though.
Oh
Very
my.
long night.
Oh, that's sad. Oh, no. I mean, it's so simple. You get on Winchester Road and you stay on it until it changes to Lexington Road, which lets you know you're in Winchester, right? That's so obvious. I mean, you couldn't have a Winchester Road in Winchester.
I don't know about that.
know.
There's cities in Wisconsin where that's where I was born.
Yeah.
But every city in Wisconsin also has a Wisconsin Avenue because, you know, every city is the Wisconsin.
See, that's
city.
that's obnoxious.
That makes some sense. I mean, Kentucky Avenue
That's
makes a
asking
little
people
bit
to
more
get
sense.
confused. See, that happens with Euclid. There's a Euclid everywhere.
Right.
So, you know. people
Well, you
can
know,
pretend they live
Euclid
in
was the
multiple
original
cities.
urban planner, supposedly.
Is that what that's? Okay, I thought they were
Euclidean
really into, like,
is actually a way of designing streets that's gridded. Now, Manhattan style of streets are actually not gridded; they're rectangular.
Okay.
What is the difference?
Well,
Not a lot, but
So it's supposed to be square and
it's supposed to be exactly the same size blocks. Of course, Lexington did not follow that model. But there you go. I took urban planning when I was here for a little bit. I'm a
Lexington reminds me of
geography
a
graduate.
pizza.
Oh, okay. I'm a theater kid.
There you
Of all
go.
things, yeah.
So cool. It's fortuitous that you invited me in, Jeff, because we actually are doing our Clark County Libertarian Convention tomorrow.
Oh, really?
So we
That
will
sounds
be at Woody's on the bypass at 7 p.m. if anyone is interested.
What does that entail?
What does that entail? We take all of the people who are registered libertarians in Clark County who have paid dues to the state party, and then we elect our officers. I believe there's only 2, but I haven't checked the CRM, so I will go check it tonight.
Yeah.
When I went to Scott County last week to do ours, there were 3 people on the CRM that had paid money that I'd never heard of. So that was,
good.
they never showed up, but,
Oh, well, yeah, still.
but that was interesting. So we had 6 people that were dues paid in Scott County, so.
I'm actually surprised it's so few. I don't know. I guess it's the due
Oh,
paying.
the
that
dues
really
paying
limits it.
part. We have plenty of people who vote and register libertarian, but there's not as many people. I mean, not that it's particularly high. It's the $35 donation, but yeah,
If you
that
don't
is
got it, you
another
don't got
level
it.
of commitment. It's like a commit. You know how they say there's a government layer cake? This is a commitment level layer cake. The first level is voting secretary or changing your registration with the Secretary of State. The second level is signing up online for the Libertarian Party of Kentucky. The third level is paying dues, and then the fourth level is becoming an officer like me. I'm at the fourth level of the Libertarian government.
Fifth level, if I can convince you to run against Alvarado.
Right. But yeah, so anyway, it's very fortuitous you invited me. We have two people out there. The guy's probably going to be chair again. His name is Chris Hall, and he's a great guy. And so
cool. All right, so that's Winchester.
There's a lot more third-party registered voters in Winchester than I would have imagined.
Yeah, well,
it's actually pretty substantial.
Everybody's peeved. I mean, are you a good Democrat? I'm a bad Democrat.
I'm a bad Democrat.
I'm a terrible Democrat.
I was a bad Democrat. I actually campaigned for Stephen Bashir in 2007.
Oh, okay.
He really messed up with the pensions. That was bad. I don't know. I don't feel like I think we all feel politically homeless at this point. Like, I don't think anybody feels like anybody. I guess maybe, do you?
I feel relatively homed, although we do have our internal fight in the LP is sort of about messaging. What always happens is we end up trying to we get too bogged down in trying to compare ourselves to the old parties rather than just running on our new issues. You know, that's inevitably what all of our fights end up boiling down to in the leadership.
As far as like what the party used to look like, and
well, right. So, for example, like there's some people in the party who want to very much look like we're I don't know how to describe it, like a better alternative to. I would even go as far as say the Democratic Party or something, but
we're open.
I'm open to alternatives. But you know, we're not that. You know, we're just not that. We have our views. We have the things we've agreed on in the platform, and we do the best when we actually stick to the platform, typically, rather than getting bogged down and saying, like for instance, when Gary Johnson ran, Bill Weld was his running mate, and Bill Weld loved to just go out there and trash Donald Trump. Which was fine, you know, most of us don't like Donald Trump anyway, but that really wasn't like the point of being in the LP. The reason why everyone liked Gary Johnson was he espoused our principles, but looked like somebody you would introduce your grandma to, as my one friend would say.
That's always the best. Someone told me that one time when I first, years ago, was like, I could run for council, and they were like, that's great, you're so normal looking. Thank you.
They'll find out, I guess.
We'll find out. But so that's the thing. That's really the issue. So for me, I feel at home, but that's because I helped contribute to this leadership in the direction that we're in this state in particular. So I will say, though, I said it to one of my coworkers. We were actually riding back from what we were doing today, and I said he was asking. We were talking about politics because it always ends up coming up wherever I am, just because of who I am. And
you just have this bubble around you.
I exude that I am the Libertarian chair. I exude it. But we were having a little talk. I said, you know, my thing with why I left both parties really was even back in 2008, I just thought they were both kind of out of new ideas, or it's just the same regurgitated stuff over and over again. And we don't really, and it really got worse in 2016, and it's not really getting much better.
No. Well, I mean, that's like, you know, here in Kentucky, like the establishment of the Kentucky Democratic Party, like they're gone. They're gone. They're quit. They retired. They went to jail because they kept dropping $40,000 out of their pockets when they sat on a couch.
London.
Yeah, that guy. I would like to meet that guy. I've never met him. I would like him to come over to my house.
He probably has some stories.
Yeah, he seems like a real charmer. All the old good old boys, like they're funny, they're smart, like they're cool people. Don't get me wrong. It just didn't work out their way, and they're gone now. And now the Kentucky Democratic Party is. I feel sort of getting our act together, especially after enduring McGrath. You know, that was.
Don't get me started.
That was as bad as that was for Kentucky. It was worse for the Kentucky Democrats.
Yeah,
I have to say, I'm thankful though that KAT let us on the debate stage with her. So
that was a fight.
I can't be too mad. They let us on the stage, although. Boy, McConnell did not want to be on the same stage with Brad Barron. He avoided that like the plague.
That's the thing, is they didn't let you. It was a fight. Getting you all on at KET was a multi-year fight.
It was a multi-year fight, but we raised the $100,000, which, by the way, why $100,000?
Because they're trying to keep Jeff Young out.
Well, that was it.
Obviously. I mean, it's like, that's not even a conspiracy theory. That's like, why did the 77th District suddenly take a loop around Sherilyn Stevenson's house? I don't know. Sherilyn Stevenson lives in her house? Yeah, that's it. I knew it. Yeah, no, Jeff Young.
Sometimes things are very clear.
So I wonder, I absolutely disagreed with virtually everything Amy McGrath ran on, but hey, they got us on the stage. You know, they got it. They came.
She actually, you know, was it her that was funding the Brad Barron campaign, or you found out who was sending those flyers? And it wasn't her.
It wasn't her. It was the Term Limits PAC. Okay, so to be clear, the Term Limits PAC, I do believe, is nonpartisan. They want people to have term limits. It just, you know.
So they were like, well, you're running against McConnell. Well, you know, he needs to be term limited.
Yeah.
This is clearly an issue. Let's address it whatever way we can.
So yes, I could say officially on the record the money did come from the term limits.
Yeah, no, that's, you know, I read about it. It's called, in the Victorian era, it was called shooting a gun. Like your way, like it's like starting a conversation about what you want. Is like you fire a gun in the air and you're like, wait, did somebody just hear a gun? Speaking of guns, and I think like a lot of politics is that like the post Bernie Sanders politics. Like that's why Bernie Sanders was good at this, right? Because in 2016, like every politician was like Hillary Clinton. Like you could ask them anything and they wouldn't answer in as many words as possible.
Right.
And Bernie Sanders is like, nope. What I'm gonna do is no matter what you ask me, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And it just became a game to see how fast you could get it back around to what you actually wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is annoying, but it's also like, I think it's just the way things are. Like, it's like, you do it too, right? Yeah. Like, the conversation is going to come around to what you're really interested in, right?
I mean, if you can, I think all people do that. I think that's like not just with politics. I think that is any conversation. If you're real pumped to talk about something, you'd be like, you're right, I also have cats. Speaking of wild animals, like, you know, you'll find a way to get it in there. And if that's what it takes to like actually demand answers, then I'm fine with that. Because honestly, I mean, I was watching the news the other day, and I think there was an interview with Kamala Harris, and this is not specific just to her. It was just a perfect example of, do you think we should have done things differently with COVID? And she was like, I think we are doing things now. I was like, that's not the question. I think we are currently doing activities. It's like, but would you have done them differently in the past? We are moving forward with that.
The funniest thing about you saying that is I'm a big fan of the show Rising on the Hill, and that's because they put Robbie Savoy on there from Reason Magazine. But also, I did watch it before they put him on there. Reason Magazine's like our I don't know.
Your Jacobin
it's our Village Voice. No, anyway, they put him on there, but they it's so funny. They brought that up, and they sit on there. That's the best Kamala Harris has sounded in 2 years. They roasted her.
You're not wrong. I want.
But
it's that same issue of like a lack of creativity. I think that's both major.
Well, she has a new communications person, I guess, that the people from the former people from Rising that now have their own show called Breaking Points, Crystal Ball and Sagar. I guess they know this person, and I'm just kind of like, well, I mean, that strategy has worked. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but that's a textbook. I guess that's textbook something out of the Carville playbook or something. But
I try to stay out of national politics as much as I can. But like it seems to me that like the Biden administration is just going like, this is hard. I'm just tired.
I mean, I kind of can't blame them because I react that way too.
I'm enough of a libertarian where I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, okay, yeah. Don't do anything. That's just stay in Washington D.C. Build a wall. Build a wall around the White House and. Don't bother us, and we'll muddle through. And I mean, that's sounds better than what you were doing before. So let's go with that.
See, I would rather them just come right out and say it. Like, man, I don't know, this is hard. Like that to me is a more useful starting point than the idea that no, everything's fine. Like if you can't,
there's
acknowledge that everything's not fine, you can't move forward.
There's people I think there's voters though who just they can't accept that. They think that they have to have somebody come in and take control of the situation.
Yeah,
and they don't
people
care
do
who
want
it is,
leadership.
if it's
They
Donald Trump or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. They feel like somebody has to come in and take control of the situation. But really, I mean, if you look at a lot of our success in America, it's been because we've taken our hands off of the situation.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, as Geoff just said, it's like people want leadership, but I think our idea of what leadership means is not very consistent. I mean, some people's idea of leadership is literally tell me what to do so I don't have to think about it. I don't.
Right.
I feel unqualified. I feel overwhelmed. Just give me direction. And other people, leadership means that it's like a consensual group process and somebody's just facilitating it, which is much more what I like and what I'm used to in community organizing.
That's what I prefer, but I have to say I don't think that's the most common. I think the first one might be more common. I mean, and it's certainly like, I've been in situations where I've been up against people's need to have a clear answer, even when there is no clear answer. Like, when you're asking a huge group of people what they want to do, like, a lot of them just want to be told. Like, a lot of them are just like, dude, just, you know, like, look you right in the eyes and be like, just tell me where to go. Just tell me what to do.
And I'm that unfortunate person that just beats against people with, like, you can figure it out yourself. You can read. You can study.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. But that's also upsetting to them. Like,
it's very upsetting. I'm still upset.
Well, that's why I like that. Like, you can figure it out with help. You know, we can all figure it out. It's
well, what happens
admittedly
is
hard.
when you have somebody who's demanding to be told what to do and you won't tell them what to do, then what they're going to do is find somebody who will tell them what to do.
Yeah.
And that happens very quickly. Like, you can sit there and watch it happen. They will go, oh, okay, not you, well, then you. And then you're like, oh, wait, because they always pick the worst person. Yeah, can we get a do-over? Like, and, I mean, people are busy. They have their own stuff to do. There's no reason why they should be forced to understand every complexity of, like, what are we, gerrymandering or Kamala. Well, we were edging on it, like, the endless propaganda about how good the economy is bothers me more than anything. That is my least favorite thing about Biden, right? Like, I hate all this crap from Psaki about how everything's doing great, when it clearly isn't. But you know what? That is her job.
That's her job. That's 100% her job.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with that sort of thing is I've always said, you know, I don't really care who funds these people because people are going to fund people. It's as old as politics. But we need the NASCAR logos, man. We need the jumpsuit. We need to know.
It's the inequity in the funding.
Like, because if you look these people up on Open Secrets, you don't get shocked by any of these votes. You know.
No, but that's that's the fundamental, like, just ridiculous impossibility at the heart of our politics. It's like, you can take money from anybody you want to, but they just have to be giving it to you because they like you, and they can't get anything for it. So you need literally millions of dollars from people to just give it to you and expect nothing in return. Like, you don't even get, like, a plastic trinket. You don't even get, like, you don't even get a decal.
Do you need millions of dollars to run for city council?
I hope not.
I won't have it. I'm not intending to, so let's hope no. I am intending to run a relatively inexpensive campaign because I think it ought to be possible. Now, whether or not it is a different thing. Although the last several elections locally in Winchester, I looked up at least what was filed, whether it was the I'm raising $3,000 or less category or more than $3,000, and every single person has raised officially $3,000 or less. Whether or not that's actually true,
you'd be surprised how low some of the stuff is. You know, I file for KREF because I'm a district chair, so I file for KREF semi-annually. You'd be surprised. The barrier is kind of low in places.
Right. Well, especially, inflation changed a lot. But KREF doesn't mess around. Like, they're on you. If you make more than $3,000, there's probably somebody out there that skates the system a little bit, but they're crazy. Like, they ride motorcycles in the rain. Like, that's nonsense. You give them every dime.
The other two parties are worse at filing with KREF than us.
Well, they're harder on you. I mean, they are appreciably harder on the libertarians than anybody else. By the way, and I know this is national, what is this about the Voting Rights Act getting rid of third parties? I've heard that, but I don't know anything about it.
I don't know what they're saying in there, man. They got all this stuff muddled in with this voting rights and not voting rights thing, I'm a fundamentally bad person because I believe in ranked choice voting or
I'm
mixed
with you 100%
proportional
on that
voting
one, yeah.
or
And that makes you bad in their eyes or in general?
Does that make
I
you
want to
bad
know if I'm
libertarian?
that makes me a
also bad
rabble
person.
rouser probably.
Well.
But I see, to me this is just this whole debate is just a sideshow to what the real issue is here, right?
Which is?
Is that we need to have an easier way for more people to get on the ballot. Now for me, that looks like ranked choice voting or even perhaps doing what Estonia does with online voting. But, we're never going to have that conversation. So instead, we're going to sit around here and Republicans are going to claim that we need to limit this from voting because there's supposed fraud, even though we don't really know how much fraud there actually
There's
is.
zero.
And then we got the Democrats on the other side saying, well, saying really bad things like, oh, well, no minorities carry IDs, which is also insane to say publicly. So it's just kind of like, it's almost just fatiguing.
Whoever said that, I wish they hadn't. That's
Yeah.
not good. Are you a voter?
Make
You like
broad
voter IDs?
statements.
I don't know. I don't, it's such a it's not even like a thing I care about really that hardly. Because, obviously I do think some people have more trouble getting IDs than other people. But if the remedy is like forcing people to have a state ID card to go anywhere, then obviously, that's kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, I don't like that much either. How do you feel about voter ID?
If it was something that we already use, like if you were required to have a state ID regardless, I don't see any issue with needing to bring it with you, but having to make somebody go through the process of both like paying for and getting to the place to get an ID just feels like extra steps to keep rather specific populations, at least.
Well, actually, it's the old and the poor that it hit. I mean, like people, because God bless the Democrats, but they have to express everything through like, oh, but this minority gets hurt. But it's like, it's the poor and the old. It's not an ethnic thing. Like if you are poor, you have problems getting ID. If you are old, you probably don't have the right ID. And I mean, that's who really gets hit by these things. Like,
I'd say that correlates a lot with race and ethnicity, but it's not necessarily only race and ethnicity.
I will say what bothers me is when we get on this crusade like Ohio did with all these voter purges. Because that seems a bit excessive. Like, they were purging somebody if they'd been inactive on the rolls for like 4 years.
Yeah.
Right? Very aggressive measures. You can, if somebody hasn't been inactive for like 20 years, okay, fine, whatever.
Well, this is a non-problem. Even like Michael Adams, our Secretary of State, was forced to come right out and admit it's like this is not an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
They found, God bless them, but the Republicans have found something to get upset about that nobody will ever get hurt by. They can complain about voter security until the cows come home. It won't affect anything because elections can obviously be stolen, but they're not stolen by such blunt methods.
I guess my critique of
turnout for voting, then I could see maybe looking into this.
Well,
when we consistently have like 30 to 40% or something, like how many people are voting more than once? Really, like that's not really a logical issue.
There's problems with and like practically all the stolen elections that we've seen in recent American history are. This is my opinion, obviously, and not your alls or RFLs, but primaries. Practically all primaries. Like, it has been a long time since a general election had anything wacky in it, and that was directly due to weird voting machines. Like, just like straight up, like what the Republicans are afraid of now was done 20 years ago for their benefit. But now that we seem to have the voting machine security more or less under control, voting is so massively, ridiculously overdesigned. Like, if I can poll 5% of a population and find out what kind of blue jeans they like to wear and what they thought of the last episode of Game of Thrones, I don't need to poll 100% of the population to see who they think should be in charge of their town, right? Mm-hmm. Like, either polling does not work, which I'm perfectly willing to accept, but like either polling does not work or voting is just massively overdesigned. Like, so ridiculously over the top overdesigned.
So
I would argue that it's the way the poll's conducted that determines whether or not your statement's true.
Okay, fair. So what do you mean?
Well, like we see with gerrymandering, it's very easy to poll a very specific part of the population to get the answer that you want.
Yeah, okay. If you can bubble sort of population and sort of get what you want out of it. Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, that is probably the argument that's being made here. You fund the polling center in the district you want funded, and you don't fund it in the other district, and that's the argument they claim is happening in Georgia. Mm-hmm. Which I'm okay with making that argument, but what I'm not okay with is acting like they've never done it, or acting like it's purely about race. And I don't know. It's another one of these things where they focused on an issue, kind of like you were saying with what the Republicans do, that it's such a small issue compared to all the other issues going on.
Oh, it's non-existent. It's not there. But you're right. Like the 2013 gerrymander was absolutely carried out by Democrats, and more to the point, like the beautiful 77th district here in Lexington, the one that's shaped like a dragon. The reason it's shaped like that is specifically because minority members of the House that lived in those districts wanted I think it's called a majority minority district.
Right, yeah.
And so they created this weird district that has it's like a butterfly. Yeah. It crosses it's all those it's everything north of Transy. Mm-hmm. And then it's like one block, I think 5th Street, where like you cross, when you're driving up Broadway, you drive through the 77th for exactly one intersection, and then it starts again on the other side.
That must have been where I used to live, because I can't remember like the number of the district, but I was on this one street that just stuck out into an entirely different district.
Yeah.
One little side street, maybe 10 houses.
And that is gerrymandering.
Yeah.
I mean, that absolutely was gerrymandering, and it wasn't even. That's far from the worst gerrymandering that happened. That was just an example. The 2013 redistricting was filled with ridiculous gerrymanders all over the place, but not as ridiculous as this one.
So anyway, I guess my point is this is clearly, and I mean they'll admit it to you. The people I listen to on the Hill, some of them have friends, who of course are in the administration, and they'll admit to you this voting rights thing is a new distraction they're trying to use from their complete failure with the Build Back Better plan. Which is, I mean, I get it. That's called politics. But at the same time, I'm not even really sure what they could do to change how people feel about them, because they ran on, and this is why I was so annoyed with people who voted for them because of this. Mm-hmm. They ran on this issue of, we're going to take charge of the situation and we're going to fix it. And, that hasn't happened now.
Yeah.
So now everybody's pissed. And it's like, well, sorry. It kind of, that's just not how federal government works.
Yeah. Well, we tried. Okay, so anyway, I get to keep the company car, right?
Right.
I mean, that makes it a flawed plan from the beginning, because at least, say in a local race, if it turns out it's no one likes me, I feel like I need to fix this. I can physically go talk to people.
Right.
Yeah.
In a federal race, there's only so much direct communication.
You can't do it. There's 730,000 people to one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then it becomes weird advertising, like fifth derivative fighting against shadows nonsense that doesn't seem to leave anybody happy. Yeah. But what I really wanted from the presidency was the destruction of the myth of the alpha male. And boy, am I getting it. The last two presidents have done more to destroy the belief in the presidency than I ever could have dreamed of. When our parents were kids, they wouldn't show the president from the front in movies. The president was always sitting in his office signing something, and the camera was. And now we're that's my Bush was 20 years ago. Nobody even hates Joe Biden enough to make nobody cares about the guy. He's irrelevant.
Which that's also kind of course, what a libertarian would want too. But
I'm like firing a gun. I'm comfortable with taking strange paths to get where we're going. I don't think. I mean, I don't know if we need an executive branch. Do you? Do you think we need one? This is not about Winchester.
We'll circle. I'll finish this statement. I'll try and circle back around for the interest of our host.
No. Okay, we'll seg this to Winchester's political structure. Okay, I don't know how we're going to do it, but it's going to work. Okay.
Don't worry, I got this. Anyway, so obviously the executive branch was set up originally to manage sort of the day-to-day things that you couldn't have a legislative vote on all the time. Somebody invades the country, someone's got to call the military out, right? The problem is our Congress decided, and it really got worse after the 20s, but our Congress decided they didn't want to do their job anymore. They just keep slowly not doing their job, right? And really it's because they promised their voters, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, this is all crazy Charles here, but they promised the voters the federal government can do all this stuff that it clearly can't do. And so what they do is they end up promising all this stuff, and then people start saying, well, hey, you didn't do this stuff. So then what they say is, oh, well, we really actually can't do that, but the president can. And that's how we've ended up in this complete mess now, is that people have some huge myth about what a president can and can't do.
It's sort of religious, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, our politicians are the priest class of America. Like, their job is to, like, they take the money, but they won't do anything for it. But you still got to give them the money.
Right.
But you can go talk to the Pope about it.
Yeah, exactly. I can promise you anything. I probably won't do any of it. But if I do some of it, wouldn't that be awesome? Right. And by the way, if you can always just go talk to the Pope if you need to. I mean, he'll help you out. He's got powers. He lives in Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so to bring this full circle, though, even with all that nonsense going on, I still believe everyone's best abilities in politics to make change come back down to the local level. They always do, fundamentally. Yeah. And that's why it's shameful that so many people don't even pay attention on the local level.
They don't.
Yep.
I mean, I agree 100%. I think that they don't is not an accident, though. As you were saying earlier, people are exhausted. You know, the number of hours people have to work to make hardly anything. I mean, that's all intentional. It keeps them uninvolved. And I think if people really had the motivation, the confidence to be involved, they could make a lot of progress.
So now to bring it fully circular, I would like to know, so you're running for city council. What do you see as the biggest issue that you're trying to... Maybe this puts you too on the spot, but...
City commission. Oh, are we moving to that part?
I was going to say...
All right.
I found Geoff and like 3 other people I can talk to in Winchester about this, so I'm always thrilled when someone asks. I'm like, yay, friends that care.
Yeah.
I see a lack of transparency as a major issue. When I was I had first moved there and was really trying to just get a feel for what was going on, what people cared about, what they talked about, and what the local government was doing. Even trying to find a meeting agenda just became this whole big thing. I mean, minutes aren't available, true. And I told you I was a theater kid. I'm on the administrative side, so that stuff annoys me to no end when I'm like, all you have to do is upload a file.
Do you want a really bad trash on here? Am I allowed to...
Sure. Don't say any bad words.
Am I allowed to dig on someone? So I looked up the Winchester Sun yesterday. Because I was like, well, what do they talk about in the local rag? And I read in there, and there's this one section that's the editorial section. And I'm assuming the main editor wrote the editorial in this one part. But he was talking about, I guess there's some fight over who needs to pay some insurance claim about some...
That's a good one.
And then in there, he writes, well, I'm not really going to give my opinion on this. And I was like, this is the editorial section. You're the editor of the newspaper. Like, dude, what the heck? Your opinion matters more than everybody else's.
I was actually there for, I was there for that.
Giving it anyway?
No, he did it.
I was gonna say, some people do the, well, I mean, no one asked my opinion. However, inserts very biased.
No, he didn't. But then he said, everyone should watch this clip. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go watch some clip.
I don't know which clip it was, but I was there for that. And that was an interesting moment. I have to say, I walked out of that room with a new appreciation for Republicans. I really did. And then I went on Twitter and I was like, oh, okay. Only talk to Republicans in real life. Don't talk to them on Twitter. So easy. But that was I've seen some amazing things in that fiscal courtroom, I will tell you.
So it's just funny you have me on here today, and I love being on the radio. Don't get me wrong. I was always told I had the face for radio, but it's just it's like that with the Winchester Sun. And right now we're on the radio the same time as WVLK is probably talking about gosh knows what. But it's just it goes back to my thing that everything seems so regurgitated. Above that editorial, in the editorial was some guy. I forget, I think it was blasting AOC or somebody. I'm like, what does this have to do with Winchester, man?
Sports. It's all sports. And I mean, we were doing it too, but it really is. It's sports. It's like complaining about what the quarterback would do if you were in charge of the Bengals or whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
We have no influence. I don't know Joe Biden.
But we have a lot of influence over Winchester City Council.
Far more interesting. It's like
I wouldn't say
like
a lot.
well,
but
I
yeah.
mean, people got really into talking about the trash pickup in Winchester.
Yeah,
It was a big thing.
Well, that was a big deal.
That's
What
relevant.
happened?
It impacts your like day to day.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we should tell people. So Rumpke,
What happened? Yeah.
Rumpke was the had pretty much all. You may fill me in on
the
this. Like
entire
Rumpke
county,
did the
actually.
entire county.
They did
And
my house. And
Not only were they not picking up, they were stealing people's trash cans. Like if
stealing
you-
their trash cans.
Yeah, they would only rent you a trash can. If you had a non-rented trash can, they would throw it away with the garbage, and they'd be like, "Oh, whoops, sorry. Well, just rent our trash can."
Oh my
they
goodness.
were renting people trash cans, and then they weren't doing pickup for like a really ridiculously long time. Like they were
Yeah.
down to like monthly for some people or
Well, I
something
think
like that.
it was a lot of people out in the county. My
Yeah.
impression, I can't like guarantee this, but the impression I got based on the locations of people who were complaining the most about it
Yeah.
was that they had simplified their routes so much. It could have been a way to cut back on having to hire people. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But that if you lived a certain distance out from like the center of town, they'll come pick up your trash when they feel like it.
Yep.
That's about it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and I can confirm on the edge of the county, you do not see a lot of trash trucks out there.
Well, you see, I live on the Lexington side of Woodford County, so they always come and pick up my trash.
Well, da-dee-da.
Well, here in
Well, anyway,
Winchester, we got
Winchester
real problems.
hates them. I mean, I've never seen so much hatred for a trash pickup company.
Yeah.
It was intense.
There's a lot to be done on that I would like to see Winchester doing something about, because here's the weird thing about Winchester. It's like, we have money right now, right?
You have extra money, like excess money in Winchester?
Yeah, like don't go spending it or anything, but
But
yeah.
no,
Yeah,
don't be wasteful. But yeah.
Like, because, okay, like the Republicans, this is why it was really not a good idea to do the show without a Republican. They both canceled at the last minute.
Yeah.
But the Republicans are sort of trying to turn Winchester into their like permanent capital. Like they would like
Oh,
to
okay.
stick a little flag in it, like it's a square.
That
interest.
explains a lot about Mr. Alvardo.
It does. It also explains why every time Mitch McConnell's up for election, all our roads get an extra 2 inches of asphalt.
That explains so much.
Yes, it does. They would very much like to own Winchester, which is not going to work out well for them, because Winchester is one of the cussedest places I've ever seen in my life. But because of that, we did very well out of that. And then we honestly have, in my opinion, an excellent crop of politicians right now. And they did a good job of positioning themselves with Bashir coming in. And then when Biden came in with all that ARPA money, we've got it. And we have to decide what to spend it on. And so far they, God bless them. God bless my friends on this fiscal court, but they're Republicans, and Republicans are socialists. So you gave them money, and the first thing they did is like, well, let's just give a raise to every county employee, which is lovely, which is incredibly important, because we could not hire people. We were having a huge problem hiring people. They were getting hired away from the counties around us because we weren't paying enough. But also, like, just money to all my friends, money to everybody that works for the county, and then everybody else can just trickle down. That's socialism. Like, I'm sorry, that's socialism. That's exactly what that is. And I'm not against it. I'm not against socialism a priori, but I don't think all the money should be spent that way. I think that Winchester should take this moment, because Winchester's been up and down many times, and I'm sure we will be down again soon. And I'd like to see some sort of investment in some sort of infrastructure that could, like, make a big difference, because, like, this ARPA money was for people suffering during pandemic. And, I mean, absolutely our state and our city and county employees suffered, but also so did everybody else.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that was my issue. It didn't.
Yeah.
My impression of it was that it didn't feel related. It felt like we have money. Let's give it to people we know we like,
Yeah.
rather than an intentional like spending where there was significant damage due to the pandemic.
You probably don't
it
want to
just
get
felt
the
like
cynical
unthought.
libertarian started on that.
No, go for it. No,
about it.
by all means. Yeah.
I mean, that's just
I
what's
believe
going to
that how we
happen,
spend
though.
money is very important.
That's
and it
just what's going to
reflects our
happen,
values.
though. I mean, that is traditionally what happens every time somebody
Yes.
gets money. I mean, we're talking about Jacksonian era politics at this point. To the victor go the spoils,
Yeah.
But I don't know what the proper investment would be for a community. Obviously, I took 2 urban planning classes and studied geography.
Yeah.
And I still don't know what the proper investment is for a community.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, okay, well, we sort of hit on there, like, Waste disposal is a huge problem in
Right.
Clark County. It's not getting any better. At this moment, the highest point in the county is the landfill.
Oh my!
If it's not there yet, it's real close. The highest point in the county is that little hill right
That's
there.
not great.
And I mean, we are
We
all
need like
getting,
countywide composting. I don't know.
Well,
That's
you know-
a lot of trash.
we're also looking for ways to make money. We should get to the jail and what they're doing with the jail in a minute here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Let's
Oh,
get to
boy.
that.
they've got that new composting center, which is for dead animal composting. And I think they should solve the problems with that and open it up to other counties. I don't see any reason why we can't make money that way. But yeah, we need to like really seriously look at Winchester's waste disposal. I think that we're all getting slaughtered on utility bills.
Definitely.
There's got to be something that can be done about that. But it's got to be phrased as like in some way related to the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
pretty
I
sick.
mean, there are things that you can use the ARPA funds for that are not explicitly related to the pandemic.
Well, you
there's
could-
very specific
Like what?
categories. Infrastructure development does actually count in certain categories.
Can
Really?
we pull all of them in the state and build a big nuclear plant?
No. Wait, please continue.
Very good. I'm trying to think of the three categories. I think broadband expansion is one of them that you
Okay.
can use that doesn't have to be in any way related. Just that, like,
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah, you're
realize there's a
right.
lack of,
Yeah.
of these like very
Yeah.
specific services, so you can use it for things related to pandemic and also these like smattering of things.
Well, that's a really good idea. I mean, I sort of don't want free broadband for everybody, but I understand that it's just the future, and
Why
that's the way
is that?
Because my kids spend too much time on the computer.
Okay, well,
It sounds like personal. No, I
internet's
but
a
yeah.
tool. All tools you can either
No.
use to build something or smack your hand. You know.
That's
Oh,
true, and I mean, like everybody's using it, everybody's paying for it, and anything that takes the pressure off of our town would be great. And also, I mean, I do have to say that like the libertarian love for nuclear power drives me crazy. So we can talk about that, but
I mean, I don't know how brief it'll be, but I do briefly have to ask, like, what the thrill of it is, because I have some friends who otherwise, like, I'm on the same page with on a lot of energy-related issues, and then we suddenly have that thing very, you know.
Well, I
very
could
opposite
I understand the traditional skepticism of nuclear power is, of course, you know, the accidents, and you know, you do have to keep a pretty high maintenance of science on nuclear power, but it is such an efficient way to make power. It really is. There's no way that's more efficient to make power.
well, at one particular juncture, yeah, the efficiency is remarkable. But when you consider the refinement that it takes to get to the juncture, that's a sort of 60% of the time it works every time type thing. Because uranium doesn't just fall out of the ground. Like fissionable uranium, like getting that stuff out of the ground is incredibly intensive. So it's not like nuclear power is free. It's just that the expenditure is at the beginning and in Arizona on sacred land where you'll never see it. And I have no idea what the relationship is between in Native American sacred sites and nuclear power. But it is weird, and it is everywhere.
They're just a constant overlap of
Anytime you read about a nuclear power site, or like a nuclear power test site, you can go like, oh, I wonder what Native American holy site was there, and look it up, and there will always be one.
Yeah.
Like every time, it's wild.
I think it's easy land to get because
It's probably easy land
Native
to get because
Americans
of
already
NIMBYism.
been like pushed so far out of like having the right to any space.
That's one theory.
So
But yeah, anyway,
David
so
Lynch would
that's
disagree.
basically what it is for me. Is I see it as, you know,
he's welcome to.
the coal. Obviously, coal is sort of dying,
Yeah.
and I see it as a way to help boost these communities a bit because it would bring, in my opinion, I think it would bring more science back to these communities.
sure. Well,
Yeah.
but while we're talking
Yeah,
about that,
yeah.
there's only one community.
Yeah.
Only one community matters. It is Winchester.
Right, and I think that if Winchester
I
could
thought
be
you
a
were gonna
community
get
that
into
has
some, like,
it.
it is all of us.
Oh no, no,
I
no.
was going to agree. The hippy dippy side of me was going to be like, you're right.
But yeah, no, that's
No, it's
exactly
Winchester.
it. I mean,
how
you
I
drive
feel
you drive
about
by
borders.
Winchester, right, and it has all the semblance a little bit of an old energy town. You see the smokestacks when you drive by on the interstate, and what is that big plant right where the juncture of the parkway is? Is that like a cement plant or something?
Oh, is that Alltech? Allstate? I forget. Yeah,
Yeah.
they make I want to say petroleum distillates.
Yeah.
And there's
This big algae
Catalent.
place.
Yeah, Catalent makes algae, but it's like it's good algae. It's quality stuff. You'd like it.
So I just that's purely what it is. I see it as a solution to a problem. I'm not wed to it in the way of like that's the only thing I'm gonna campaign on or something.
Well,
but yeah.
Do you see it as a transition to other things, or as like?
I mean, I guess if we eventually can find something that's, solar works a bit, but it's still, we're still trying to make it better.
We just had that big thing in Winchester over that, the industrial solar thing, which was interesting. That was a very interesting.
And what I don't like about what happens with solar and other renewables is what they did in Martin County. Did you read that article about Martin County?
No, what happened?
Okay, so, all right, so my favorite outlet in this state, probably. I don't know who my favorite outlet is, but the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting is an amazing outlet. They are awesome. They only put out like one article a month, but they just like leave no stone unturned. They just like hammer it home. Yeah. Well, anyway, they did one, I want to say like 7 or 8 months ago, about all this economic investment money that was put into Eastern Kentucky and all these abandoned industrial parks there from this investment money.
Yeah.
And my coworker actually read, and he was because I showed him this. I show people stuff all the time. I'm just like politics. I'm a magnet for it.
It's your thing.
But anyway,
it's good that you have a thing.
So he looked it up. He's sitting over there by me, just like dying in his chair, like about all his wasted money and crazy nonsense that happened out there. Well, the place they featured in the front picture of it was Martin County. And this $10 million they invested in an industrial park there that never happened. And so I was like, okay, that's sad, but that's classic Martin County.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, sure enough, I see somebody, I'm in this Facebook group called the Greater Cincinnati Politics Group.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Because I still haven't found a Kentucky equivalent. Yeah, I would go join.
It exists, but I'm from Northern Kentucky, so everybody.
It's a good group.
I went to Boone County High School in Northern Kentucky.
Campbell County, yeah.
Okay, so I love this group because I got to hand it to the moderators. They're pretty even, which I'm impressed. I don't know how they maintain that.
Yeah, during the Breonna Taylor thing, it got pretty intense on that group, and they always managed to just stay out of the way. You're right. I never thought about that. That's pretty cool.
But anyway, so I saw somebody post in there, some. I guess they're an establishment Dem. I know that the Hamilton County Democratic chair gets in there all the time. But one of them posted in there.
Jerk Dusty. Anyway.
So he posts in there, look at all this great money that they're investing in Martin County, Kentucky for this new solar farm. And I was like, oh no. So sure enough, I read down into this article, and it's presented by whoever the TV station is out in Huntington. And I read down in there, and in there, sure enough, one of my other people, my Madison County person, read into it and found out that because they said, oh, look, there's going to be, I think it was 100 jobs. I don't think it was 300. I think it was 100 jobs. Like, 100 jobs coming to Martin County. And then he read down in there, it said it was 100 temporary jobs and only 3 permanent jobs.
Yeah, we ran into that in Winchester very recently. Yeah. It's like 300 jobs for 6 months and then 3 jobs.
And it just cracks. So that's not my, so my thing isn't, I'm not even really opposed to building a solar farm or anything like that. I just get annoyed when these politicians come in here and say, oh yeah, you're going to get 300 jobs and solar's the future and we're going to throw all this money at it. And at the end of the day, I even read further into the article, guess who was behind the investment firm that was building this solar farm?
Who?
Adam Edelin.
Yeah, I knew it.
So it's just lining his pockets. It's not.
I have the same issues where it's like, I'm on the steering committee of the Kentucky Student Environmental Coalition. If that gives you any indication of my views on like renewable energies,
right?
Yeah.
And even so, when it came down to like making public comment on the solar plan, I was like, man, I never thought I'd speak against solar. Hypothetically, solar plant coming to your town. I'm like. Yeah. Cool. Sounds vaguely pleasant.
Right, yeah.
But then I looked at the the specifics of it, I was like, this is horrible.
Wow, these people think we're idiots.
They
They
do.
really thought we were dumb.
Well, and the point I made was that like they're doing exactly what the coal companies do. They're going to come extract labor and resources out of our land, send all the money and the use of that elsewhere, and then just leave our land kind of screwed up. And like, this is terrible.
Before we get there, I do have to say one thing. I just looked it up. The gross domestic product of Martin County is $250,000 a year. So they could have just given everybody in that county $10 million, and they could have split it up, and that would have been
a huge boost to the Martin County economy. Yes,
that would have helped. As it is, I'm looking, the GDP has actually gone down since they built that plant, and it's much lower now. But yeah, okay, so there's two things there. One is the ridiculousness of that solar proposal, which I think is important, because I feel like standing up for that, because like I love solar power. No. I love the sun. Like, it's one of my favorite gaseous entities. But
you have many.
Yeah, but I'm not dumb. Or maybe I am, but like not dumb enough to fall for that. Like,
well, I mean, this was becoming either unintentionally or intentionally an opportunity to just like pit people against one another, and I was encouraged to see how many people showed up to like say something about it. That was great. That was a huge turnout.
That was a fun night.
Hundreds and hundreds.
But my understanding was Alvarado backed the one in Winchester, right?
Alvarado, we never really figured out exactly who was going to profit from that, except for that one guy.
Well, I shouldn't
angry
say
chairman, the one who just couldn't understand. I bet you he was getting something out of it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess I shouldn't say. I didn't mean financially. I meant like he was.
No, somebody pushed that.
He was out there publicly saying that he was for.
Well, and that's why it even went as far as it did, is because somebody was pushing it, not publicly. Somebody was pushing it through, hoping no one would notice, is what it seemed like.
They wanted to slide it through real fast on like, oh well, don't you like solar power, and like, don't you like that last solar plant? And everybody was like, no, it's weird, and we didn't get a damn thing from it. So and now, like that deal was so dumb on so many levels. The two things that really stick with me, just the little minor things that stick with me, is like they have this town meeting because people are furious. Nobody's going to let this go. They have to have a town meeting. They thought so little of the town meeting that it was the first meeting that anybody was allowed to go to after the pandemic, and they didn't even bring refreshments. There wasn't even coffee.
They're trying to keep you away.
Yeah, well, they were just thinking nobody would show up.
Yeah, I think they thought it was going to be like a 30-minute meeting, turned into about a 3.5-hour meeting.
Yeah, at one point,
a lot of people had a lot of opinions.
Yeah, you're at a Kentucky political meeting when somebody starts singing.
Oh gosh! Oh my!
Every single one.
Did they roll out the barrel behind it?
Even the Lexington City Commission meetings, there's frequently singing.
It's a thing around
here.
It's fantastic. I like it. I like that guy a lot. The one who really got me was the one who was like the one who was obviously very torn about his actions in his youth. He's like, I participated in mountaintop removal all through Muhlenberg County. I'm telling you, do not do this. I liked him a lot. But the thing that really stuck me with that was like, not only did they never do an environmental impact assessment at all, they just never did it.
Wow, that's shocking.
Yeah.
But they must have paid somebody off to not have to do one.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, they do that with like prisons and stuff too, and it annoys me every time. And then they seem shocked when it's like, what do you mean it's on a coal slurry? We didn't see it. Yeah. When you can literally point to it. It's right there on the property you tried to buy.
Like they did in Estill County where that guy was, where the dump in Estill County is.
They've done a bunch of them like southeastern Kentucky. What is that politician? He represents 5 of those counties down there, and he just keeps like putting prisons on polluted land, thinking like, well, now we're making use of the land and we're giving you jobs. You're going to be in polluted conditions because we didn't do anything to restore the land, but jobs.
Okay, now I'm angry.
What is his name? I can't believe
it's not Rogers, is it?
It is. It's
Hal Rogers is doing that?
That man has been dead for 20 years.
Oh my God. He's put a prison in almost every county, because Letcher County, he was trying to get like a deal with federal prison to get built there.
Okay,
and he was getting some sort of payoff for it.
That makes sense.
Well, now Clark County's eating his lunch. Oh, by the way, this is WRFL 88.1 all the way to the left. Please call us at 859-257-9735, which is 859-257-WRFL. Big shout out to everybody driving through traffic, especially the Uber drivers and the Lyft drivers and the delivery drivers. Stay safe, y'all.
Don't slam on your brakes in the rain, please.
So, finishing off the solar thing, because I really want to talk about hydroelectric, and we also need to talk about the jail. And, but that's the way with this show; you never get to everything.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But we have to talk about the jail.
So,
it's a sticking point for me.
Yes.
Oh dear.
Absolutely. Well, no,
I do prisoner support organizing, so I have very strong feelings about jails.
Okay, all right.
Winchester has one problem that is bigger than all other problems in Winchester, for sure. But we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
And it's not the jail; it's the entire system.
Oh, yeah.
But their idea for the industrial solar thing that they tried to put on Clark County to clean it up. Do you know what their idea for cleaning it up was?
What?
We would, after the solar panels lived out their natural life and were no longer producing electricity, we would recycle them for the scrap and use the money to clean up all the problems. You know, it's like if I buy you a soda and then I drink your soda that I gave you, and then I give you the can, and you can sell the can and buy another soda. Like, that's exactly how that works, right?
Dear God.
So, I mean, like, we were very much in favor of solar power. I love solar power. I think it's great. I think it's groovy. But the specific deal they were handing us was just so incredibly stupid. And it
wouldn't
really
have served anybody in the county, really.
It really let me know who wasn't paying attention. Because it was sort of like the McNabb situation here in Lexington, where like one Google, I can instantly tell whether you've done one Google or not, you know?
Well, and something else that frustrated me about that is it felt like some people in the audience, or even perhaps the moderators, I don't remember specifically who like started this part of the discussion, but it felt like there was an attempt to pit the workers who would get jobs building this against the people who are opposing it, when that is not at all, at least my problem. They were like, you don't like unions. And it's like, I like unions. I wish them safe, productive, well-paying work with all the benefits in the world.
Yeah.
I just don't want them destroying something by when you say work, like there are things they can build that would be useful.
Yeah.
I hope they do. Like, it is nothing against them.
I would like them to build something that was useful to Clark County, which, by the way, that project was not.
Was not at all.
And they specifically told us that you will get, they told us, you will get nothing from this, not even coffee.
Well, I was happy that towards the end of the meeting, one of the union members actually came up, and some people had been speaking about, like, what kind of work this would bring them.
Yeah.
Just in a personal sense. And one guy came up and he goes, man, I really want the work, but this sounds like a bad idea. Did you guys think this through? Like, he just seemed befuddled that we were even at this point of the process when clearly this hadn't been discussed before.
Hey, look, if they're looking for work, I have one suggestion for them. Get rid of the suicide lane on from the bypass to US 60 on the west end of town there.
Oh, my God, yes.
When you turn to the left,
yeah.
it has a longer lane for cars to queue than they drive into.
Yeah.
Which, that really grinds my gears. That's like transportation planning 101.
Yeah, it really, they made the road so big it's dangerous. It's weird. Like, they obviously were planning ahead by giving us 6 lanes over the damn interstate.
Right.
I'm darn. And,
hey, a dam is a thing they can build.
I don't want to, I don't want to insult people personally, but there's a couple things that have been done in Winchester lately that I question. Like, the new GRC. I have some real serious issues with that.
Is that the one that involved there was a school board member that had like a family business that was tied into some sort of construction project?
Oh, that's the school board mess now. Like, what happened last year, not very long last year, like only a few months ago, was a school board member was hiring, or she had a company. It's right down. It's down there, Holden Doors or something like that. It starts with an H. It's right there next to Leeds. And she was getting subcontracted work from the Board of Education, which is specifically forbidden by the law. And the lawyer told her that this is specifically forbidden by the law, so they fired him. And there was a bunch of ruckus. And since then, it's been quiet.
But you see, this is what I talked about. I think it was at the very beginning of the show. I don't know if you were in here yet, Robin, but that is the classic problem with this whole state. In the politics in this state is there's literally, it seems like, a group of people that just believe the laws do not apply to them.
Yeah,
and
it's true.
And it's crazy because I'm not saying where I'm from in Wisconsin is perfect, but like, if you do something that corrupt there, you are thrown out of office typically. Like, these people don't survive that stuff there like they do here.
It's the good old boy network. And, we have like, I think there's 6, maybe 7 definable political factions in Winchester, maybe more, just that I know about. And some of them go way back. Some of them go back to some really bad stuff. Because, you came to Winchester later in life, right?
Yeah. It's been about 4 years now, I think.
Yeah,
I lived in Lexington for a really long time.
Winchester wasn't good in the 70s and the 80s. Like, what was going on was bad. Very bad. Really, really, really bad. Like, KKK and CIA bad.
I believe that, unfortunately.
Yeah, like
Kentucky's not known for like sundown towns and terrible things like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, the KKK literally did control Winchester until, I mean, we started getting rid of them in the 80s and the 90s, and they're gone now, which I appreciate. That's one of the reasons I was willing to come back, was because...
They went to Sadieville, I hate to tell you. Yeah, they're not that far.
Yeah, I hear bad things about what's going on down in the Lincoln area, but they're gone from us, and I mean, I think Winchester is in practically every way a better city than it was when I was a kid, for sure. But there's also room for improvement, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And it's that good old boy network that I think creates that lack of transparency. There's not, even when there's not an intentional cover-up of information, there's not a sense of accountability that makes them think, oh, maybe other people should be involved in this decision.
Well, and that's what I'm getting back to. It's sort of like, I tell people when I'm out campaigning for the Libertarian Party is, I'm not even about the next election. I'm about trying to change the culture a bit. Because right now it seems like in the state there's a culture of people that just accept that. Right? And like I said, I always revert back to where I'm originally from. But the way I was raised by my parents from Wisconsin and my family up there is like, there is not a culture. Ooh, that's probably going to... Sorry, everybody on the radio. There is not a culture of like accepting that. Like, somebody will get thrown out. Somebody will suffer consequences.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That is a fair criticism. But then, that gets into the mystery of Kentucky right there. Kentucky, which is simultaneously at the top and the bottom of every best of and worst of list.
Right.
Because this is a strange and deceptive place. And Winchester is one of the strangest places in it.
It's a mystique. Kentucky has a mystique to it.
It does. And you know what? Like, that's one of the reasons why I think that what we're doing is important, because this state is a player whether it wants to be or not, and we either play or
we're becoming a player very rapidly.
Name another state where everybody in the entire nation knows both senators by first name.
Well, and I just looked it up on the last census. Did you know places in Kentucky are regaining population again? Hazard grew again.
Yeah, that's strange.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Hazard grew by 20% again. It's back over 5,000.
Wow. I mean, there is a movement, especially within like the youth environmental movement, to get people to stay here and to take responsibility for what they want to see changed, and that's not, it's not always doable for everyone, but it's great that people are finding ways to do that, even though it sometimes like hurts their financial situation. It sometimes means that they have to stay in a place that's not ideal for them. But I mean,
the work you're fighting for the work. It's
and that's the thing with Winchester. Like, I don't necessarily, as somebody who didn't grow up there, see a lot of people intentionally creating harm, but I see a lot of just lack of deep forethought and lack of community engagement. And I think it's very easy for that to happen. I mean, we all tend to default to what we naturally do, and power can corrupt anyone, including me. If I'm elected, I want to be held accountable. I think everybody in any position of power should be held accountable and should welcome being held accountable.
Well, yeah, because the Good Old Boys Network, and girls, in fairness, and there's a fair number of good old girls in our town, too.
Yeah.
They use that to protect themselves and also to escape consequences. It works both ways, and I mean, it gets ridiculous. The example I keep coming back to is like, if you want to know when fiscal court is going to meet next, the best way to find out is to go to the 2nd District Fiscal Court fiscal magistrate's Facebook page, because he's the one that posts the agenda. Nobody else does it.
Right.
And this is the
I mean, the city website is just...
Oh, my God. The city website tells you what? It's like 2nd Wednesday and 3rd Thursday or something like 4th Thursday or something like that. That's all they tell you. And this guy...
I want meeting minutes. I want those.
Good Lord. Well,
they
for
don't
what
exist.
they're worth.
I want them for, like, even... like a year ago. They're not up.
Yeah, even really?
You can't find minutes for hardly anything, at least not consistently.
Michelle should really be on that. Like, we elect her. She's a Democrat. She should be doing that, like, for real. But,
oh, snap.
It frustrates me that there's just a lack of consistent practices, one, and then intentional, like, transparency for the second part.
And a lot of these people, like, are... I know fiscal court better than I know city commission. You've got, you're going to be coming into an entirely new city commission, right? Because Ed Bertner's retiring.
He's retiring. I believe Joe Ellen is running for mayor. I want to say there's 2 people running for mayor currently right now. And,
so right now it's Joe Ellen and that guy Harrison.
Okay.
And I would go ahead and just assume Joe Ellen's going to win that one unless somebody else appears.
I would assume so. And then somebody just retired recently from the commission. I believe he has a temporary replacement.
Ramey, he just like up and left in the middle of his term, oddly.
Yeah.
I guess he really wanted to move to Mount Sterling. I don't know. That was weird.
I think his wife retired, and it was just a good time for them both to like have some freedom to move. And
well, God bless Ramey. He's done a good job. I've known him since high school. But to me, like, if you take on the office, you should really finish the office unless there's like a super overwhelming reason, which there may be. I haven't talked to him about it, but like, I want, if somebody stands up for office and they get elected for office, they should complete their term.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
agree
fair.
with that. That's what you signed on for.
Yeah.
There's extenuating circumstances, and maybe he didn't share them all, but
I hope
it seemed very sudden.
Yeah, it was completely out of the blue.
But yeah, given that, there's 2 automatic open positions on the commission, so it's a great year to run.
Yeah. Do you know how many people are running?
I have not seen anybody else file to run yet when I last checked. It's been a couple weeks since I checked the...
Where do you check?
It's the State Board of Elections, I believe.
Yeah.
That's where you got to go. Okay, because you can't get it through. I've looked on the Winchester's website.
Yeah, no, I want to say I saw it on the State Board of Elections.
Sounds like this
I'm
Winchester
remembering now-
website's not very reliable.
It isn't.
It isn't. It needs an overhaul. It's probably, like, I don't want to put that solely on Michelle, because this is probably the website they've had since the internet was invented and became accessible to them.
It's an Angel Fire page.
I know somebody, though, that, like, I think he went to get a marriage license in the county, and they just, like, drug out a typewriter from under the desk. And that's the level of technology that we use in Winchester.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
we're
my
getting the
marriage
voting
license
machines.
looks like. But, no.
Okay, so I'm not going to...
If
I'm
it's
very
not on the
curious who's
state
running.
board page, I remember I had a little trouble finding it.
Yeah, it's hard to find, yeah.
I was like,
would
I don't
really
know
like
if
to
I'm the only one running so far, or if I'm just looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's the problem. And I mean, like, the Fayette County website is updated daily because my friend who I'm the campaign manager for, she checks it every day.
And I think it ought to be. I don't think you should have to be Facebook friends with somebody in the know to find this information.
But that's how the establishment wants it.
Well,
That's why I hate it.
It's weirder though because this, like the guy we're talking about, Travis Thompson. Like, not to play favorites, but he is my favorite magistrate. Well, no, they're all so good. Yeah. But Robert Blanton's pretty great too, and obviously I'm really sentimental about Chris and Daniel. But Travis is the one that Alvarado keeps trying to get rid of, to the point where Alvarado was trying to pass legislation to make it impossible for Travis to be magistrate anymore.
Why? I don't know a lot about
it. It gets really mysterious with those, like,
Probably because he's not friends with Mitch McConnell personally.
Well, we don't know. I mean, that's the thing. You can only, like, it's like a logic problem. You're like, okay, so Travis is definitely not in it with Alvarado.
We need red strings and plug pins.
Exactly.
To figure out this town.
A lot of it comes back to Chris Payson, whose sudden passing really just changed everything. Like, that was amazing and sad and weird. But like, it's really hard to figure out what's going on and where the lines are because you're right. It's all behind closed doors. And
all I know about Alvarado is he co-sponsored that bill that was going to make it illegal to insult a cop. So
yeah, Alvarado's got a lot of problems.
He's not co-sponsored much that I would agree with.
Did you read about the bill about insulting a cop?
I did. Yeah.
Yes. I actually stood on this campus in front of William T. Young when it was out with a microphone, speaking out, telling the students about it. Yeah. Because that was something that actually gets the Libertarian chair to come out from hiding.
Also, Alvarado is famous in Winchester because he was a pediatrician when a lot of us went to school, and a lot of people are very upset about things that happened in the 80s and the 90s. And also, he's sort of famous for... now he is the doctor of record for a lot of nursing homes that he doesn't do a good job of taking care of.
I
believe
see.
the nursing home that had like 90% of Clark County's COVID fatalities was one of his. But I shouldn't, I should find out for sure before I just spread rumors about the man. But
but it is entirely accurate to say that people have long-standing issues with him.
Oh, God, yes. Well, I mean, a lot of people do. It's a small town. That's why Ed Bertner, I think you could honestly call Ed Bertner, like, without exaggeration, quite possibly the best mayor Winchester's ever had. Because he's managed to like thread the needle of these wild little disagreements that go back. And in my opinion, he's done a great job.
He seemed like a good meeting facilitator. I appreciated that I feel like he wanted to make sure folks were heard.
Yeah. Yeah, he really he's not from Winchester. I forget where he's from.
Maybe that's why he's such a good mayor.
He's still in that seat right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting less active. I think he's having some health issues, is what's making him step back. But he's been mayor for 16 years.
It's been a long time.
He holds the record. Like no mayor's ever held on longer.
And he's very attentive to who's present, because the first time I came to a meeting, he just like watched me to see why I was there. It was like I was a new specimen. He had.
That's what I like about these politicians. They're so sensitive. Just like, somebody's in the room. Oh my God, somebody's in the room. What do they want?
Why
what are they
you
up
here?
to? Why are they up to?
And I came one time to make comment on something. Another time I was just there to listen. A lot of times I just stream online because of COVID cases and things like that, and based on who I need to be exposed to. But I am very attentive. I at least watch and email them my thoughts on things. And the time I came to not speak, it just baffled him. He had to come check on me and to be like, I need to know what you're doing here.
If anybody who's listening, if you ever want to make a politician nervous, all you do is just show up for a meeting and don't say anything. It drives them crazy.
That works.
When I was taking notes too, he looked so uncomfortable.
They hate that.
Like, I'm really not here to attack you. I'm just interested, and that apparently was enough to be unsettling.
It totally is. It's the kind of people that politicians, a certain type of person is attracted to politics.
Yeah.
And
they both love and hate us, I think.
Yeah. They're confused by us. They don't know what we want. Are they inside the zoo looking out or outside the zoo looking in? They're not sure. I mean, like, and the best thing to do is, honestly, if you stay quiet, they never know what you can do. It's only when you try to do something that they figure out how powerless you are. So you can play that for quite a while. If anybody's listening, that's one of my better tricks.
Oh, I don't think I'm powerless.
I think it really comes down to picking your battles, and I think that's where a lot of I don't know if I want to use the word insurgent.
Why not? Bush isn't president anymore. Go
It's
for it.
frowned upon in those circles, but go ahead.
But that's where sort of up and coming political movements, I think, falter the most, is they don't choose their battles. For us, a really winning issue was when we went out and really campaigned hard against eminent domain that was happening in a very local place.
Rowan County, right?
Yeah, not Rowan.
Or was that
Russell?
Ashland?
Russell.
Yeah, Ashland. Next to Ashland. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was a big deal.
And, because, here's what happens, typically in my circles, we get the people that are sort of lean, a bit anarchist, sometimes. And,
People.
But, there's you have to pick your battles. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people just come in and they don't have they want to conquer the whole world, which, don't get me wrong, like, there are a lot of things I don't like that happen. But you gotta pick your battles.
Oh yeah, people come in and they're very unrealistic. I think you saw that a lot with, not to put them down, but the Trump voters.
Oh yeah,
like they were all
I see that more
novices.
with the two major parties than I do with, like, say, the anarchists or the communists, or whatever like supposedly fringe group that I think there's actually a lot more of than people give credit for. But I think those groups in general know they have to pick their battles because they are so sneered at as soon as they announce themselves.
Yeah, nobody's just going to nod along. But, whereas if you're a Democrat or a Republican, you can count on those Twitter likes anytime you say something just fairly bland.
Yeah.
Hey, all I know is that I had to come on this show today here with Geoff because Matt Jones wouldn't have me on his show because I don't have more than 10 Twitter followers.
Yeah, that was insulting. I remember that. Was it 10?
Yeah. It was because I only had 10. Not even though our district page has more likes than the Republicans and Democrats in Fayette County, but
well, this idea of basing someone's political validity off of their social media presence is very strange to me because some people just don't use social media.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
I don't. I personally,
I
don't get on Twitter very often. I only do it because I only do it every once in a while to troll other people because I just hate the platform. Because for me, when I make an argument, a political argument, mine's always a long form argument. It's never a 400 character argument. And
Yeah, I have that problem too.
Speaks only in threads.
and actually, it really kind of made me, when it first came out, because, gosh, my friends call me a 30-year-old boomer. But when it first came out, I didn't like the platform. I think it was in high school. And I was like, this is such a joke. Like, all this is going to do is create a bunch of people getting on there one-upping each other, and there won't be any real discourse or anything like that. And sure enough, here we are.
Yeah.
And it made me, and the reason why I'd gotten on there to comment on that was Matt Jones was directly misrepresenting one of our issues. And I said, look, man, I am the chair in Lexington. I went to the University of Kentucky. I'm a donor to the University of Kentucky. I will debate you on this topic anytime, any place, anywhere. And then he's like, Twitter followers, murmur.
Yeah, he chickened out. Absolutely. That's all that was. I cannot find out who's running for office in Clark County.
Yeah, and there's nobody running.
And maybe
You automatically win, Robin.
Yeah.
all right. I mean, that's fine with me because I'm so much more interested in the position itself than the campaigning. The campaigning is really not the part I was looking forward to. The only thing I do look forward in that is that I intend to use campaigning as a way to become even further qualified.
Does your commissionership
That's one of
have
the best parts about
boundaries?
campaigning,
Is it
actually.
like a district area, or is it just the whole city?
They're all at large.
Yeah, you're at large.
So you're just gonna roll around
weird
Winchester,
city.
roll down your window. Hey, what's going on? I'm running for city commissioner.
Well, I have experience just going door to door and asking
Yeah.
people things, and that's honestly my plan. Is not to so much like have this big speech about what I'm about, but just to
Yeah.
go ask people what they care about and have an honest to God conversation with them, because I don't think that happens a lot. And I think that's what's important, is not just me going in with like some preset agenda of these are the only things I'll focus on, or I have set solutions already in place you get no input on. Like, I obviously have my feelings and my biases. Anyone that tells you they don't is lying.
Yeah.
But none of these would be my decisions to make it by myself. And I don't want to ever fall into that, which is why I then have my anarchist friends. And I mean, really, I lean towards anarchism as well. It's just that most people don't understand what that word means, and so I don't use it a lot.
Yeah.
I lean towards autonomy, but not at the expense of hurting other people, basically, is how I feel about politics and life. So if that clarifies it for anyone, then that's
does.
helpful.
The right to throw a punch ends where my nose begins, or something like that. Yeah.
well, that
Provided you are not also throwing a punch at my nose.
well, you know who you're talking to right now saying that. Anyway,
Well, here's
Well,
the
I mean,
thing.
like,
Like,
thing
when
is,
people tell me
libertarians
they're
are right about a lot of
libertarians-
stuff, and I steal your talking points all the time. You know that.
oh yeah, well,
Libertarians confuse me though, because I have a hard time finding consistent viewpoints in the way that, like, I can kind of gather where the Democratic and Republican parties stand on very specific things. All the libertarians I've met, there's been a big variety of viewpoints on everything, which is interesting to me.
well, I think the
that's
biggest
fair.
part of the other issue is that we have a lot of people who call themselves libertarian who aren't registered with the big L, right? And for instance, Rand Paul. For instance,
Does anyone claim him?
and for instance, like I
Not
think
allowed
some
to say.
people for a while were calling themselves Trump libertarians, right?
That was
That was very strange.
That's a dog cat right there.
But
That's
it-
not-
Words
but-
that don't make sense.
but so I think the problem is that and it's just because I think our idea is not about a party, it's about more of a principle than a party to begin with. We're about freedom for people, and like you said, more autonomy for people, that people don't automatically think, oh, hey, there's actually a party. We could go read what their platform says, and then we know what they stand for,
That's
right?
fair.
And
There's a lot of assumptions.
yeah.
and that's what I do. Half the time when I get into a debate with somebody who starts off as being hostile, though most people don't end being hostile because everyone loves me, clearly. But
You're a charmer.
that's the 90% of the time I just say, well, just go read the platform. I voted for this platform. I helped write this platform, right? If you really want to know what we, the LPKY, think, the platform's right there. Or what National
Look at the
thinks.
platform and follow up with you on my thoughts.
Yeah, but
You've asked for it.
Your two weaknesses, as far as I can tell, are nuclear power and abortion. I think that I never get tired of reminding libertarians that you all are obviously in favor of a woman's right to choose. Obviously, and the fact that you all try to do this corrupt bargain where you agree to never ever discuss it because you really like those pro-choice those pro-life votes, it's never going to work. And
yeah, I don't see a whole lot of value to courting the middle, to be honest, just in general.
no, there's a lot of pro-life libertarians.
There's a lot. I would say the majority of our local party in Kentucky are pro-life libertarians.
That doesn't shock me, but because it's Kentucky, it's
But for-
very
Well,
common
Kentucky
here.
is
It's
not
like-
obligated to make sense.
No, well, it's not specific to Kentucky either. There's a large.
There's a
portion of
big
the US
fight
that
within
is
the party about it. In fact, I've been in the movement to just strike it from the platform because
Yeah,
I don't
to
like
not
I don't like
have a
the way it says. I would prefer that people ask the individual candidate. Because it's just so cancerous to our party. It really is. It's like a looming cancer overhead. Because for me, I don't really care too much about the main thing I'm worried about is being forced to pay for something that people don't want to pay for. That's where it comes to me. It's not necessarily all this other stuff, but
in the case of like group insurance rates and things like that.
Yeah. So that's where it comes with me. It's not but
That would be
I
very
understand
long
this.
discussion.
Once again, I understand this is not an issue. Like this is not a winning issue for us, right?
No,
like,
it's not.
Like,
Fair.
it's not
absolutely
something.
not.
And it's
That's why I don't know
there's
if
so much
it's
to
literally
that
in their platform. It says in the platform what we do not ever talk about it. It's like it's pretty close to that wording. I'm not even.
we're
kidding.
getting-
we're gonna not talk about it. I just not talk about it.
Yeah.
No, we're getting
no. Yeah, they don't talk about it. I talk
we
about it.
believe,
Oh, yeah,
we
same.
basically wrote in. We're revising the platform again on it because it's constant. I mean, this is
Yeah.
a battle that comes up every year in convention. No lie. That's why I want it stricken from the national platform, and I prefer that each state platform commented on it individually. But like, we basically wrote in there, right? Like, we do not want a government sponsored. Is how we worded it, and that
So like Medicaid wouldn't cover
Right.
it, but a private company could if
right.
they,
If you wanted to get together with your private company and covered it, we wouldn't care. But we don't want government sponsored, and
But you don't exactly speak for your whole constituency.
I don't exactly speak for my whole constituency. There are some
you don't.
people who, but I think fundamentally though we would all agree that that's the proper wording.
Yeah.
Right. And. So it's just
Okay, fair.
it's fatiguing, right? It's like I come in here, I'm coming in here, and we're doing great work, right? Trying to fight for people's property rights and eminent domain, so somebody doesn't seize a convalescence home.
Yeah.
and then somebody,
that was shocking.
and then we turn around and like I mean, it's like this weird litmus test with people.
and you're spending all this time and energy on a thing that it
I
seems you're
don't
never
care.
gonna like
Hey,
come to a conclusion on.
But
anyway.
speaking of individual rights, we have 9 minutes left. We have to get to Winchester. Well, not just the jail. The entire system in Winchester is the problem. It's not just the jail. The
Right.
jail is the drain. Honestly, of all of them, I think the jail is probably the most conscientious. I don't know. You
Of
may just
what?
of the different groups that keep Winchester in jail. I think that Winchester's single biggest problem is and has been going back for at least 150 years, probably longer, is that Winchester massively over-incarcerates.
Oh yeah,
Massively, not even slightly. Like
I would agree.
we're
Our
one of the
jail
most
is always overfilled.
we're one of the most incarcerating counties in one of the most incarcerating states in one of the most I think the most incarcerating nation in the world, right?
we are the most incarcerated.
Like if
nation
you
per capita.
honestly wanted to find the worst
That being
place in
said,
America
I do think they
for
probably
this.
incarcerate people more in authoritarian regimes. We just don't have record of it.
I mean, it could be. I mean,
That's
authoritarian
possible,
regimes do keep pretty good records, as we know from our own authoritarian regimes. But
If you look at the comparisons, both like just in general, based like
But
per
comparing us
country or
against
per
other
capita,
Western countries,
we,
absolutely.
I mean, we win at that every
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
per country or per capita. We
If
lock
Ken-
up everyone.
I think the statistic was if Kentucky was its own country, we would have the third highest population of women in prison in the world, like just by ourselves. Because Kentucky justice, air quotes, is in modern era remarkably colorblind and egalitarian. I have to say, when I got thrown in the Winchester jail, I saw prisoners and jailers of every color, every creed. I was fully impressed that I was in a non-racist jail cell with 6 other people, none of whom deserved to be there.
I challenge the idea that a jail can be non-racist given the history of jailing employees.
Well, okay,
that's together.
Well,
I see what you're saying.
No, and also the history of Winchester, in which also goes back. Like Winchester does have a very specific history. Winchester's history did, in fact, change America's history quite a few times, just not recently. But Winchester had a terrible problem with. I mean, that puts it so lightly, but like slavery was huge in Winchester because Winchester. The reason why hemp was big in Kentucky is because specifically, Clark County has large areas of arable land. They have long hills, like it's a 700-foot fall, I think, from the top of the embankment to the Kentucky River. That's all water power. There were water wheels on top of water wheels on top of water wheels, and they had slaves. They had slave labor, and that's why so much of the world's rope was made right there in Winchester. And when you drive around Winchester and you see all those big old brick houses that other counties don't have, that's because Winchester got very rich off of this stuff, for sure. And as I said, I remember. Like you always have to say like I can't perceive everything that's going on. I'm not sure of what's really truly going on. However, I was in Winchester in the 80s and I am in Winchester now. I don't know whether it's not racist anymore, but I can tell you for sure it's way less racist than it used to be. Way less racist than it used to be. Like,
that's good to hear.
Oh yes.
My issue is more that like I don't know that jail can be non-racist.
Well, it's
not that ours is particularly failing, but just that the idea of it can be separated from racism.
Well, to qualify my agreement of that, I would say that jails and our jail system is entirely based on turning people into profit, quite literally, and it's done to poor people. And if poor people, and this state, which used to be incredibly racist, and probably still is pretty darn racist, had a real problem with keeping people of color poor. And the jail is going to exacerbate that problem over and over and over again. Never ends. But I do also have to say that when I was in jail, I carefully kept demographic notes on everybody I saw, and it exactly fit the demographic of the jailers, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as a liberal, being falsely incarcerated by jailers of a rainbow of colors and genders was it's like
strange experience.
Yeah, I was like, well, this is nice. I'd like to go home now and blog about it. I don't really feel like I belong in jail. It's not a good fit for me. But anyway,
I mean, we still like make that money off of people, obviously. Like in
we do.
Prisons and things like that, there are large practically like plants to produce things, or we loan out prisoners like they did with the Maysville candle factory.
Yeah,
Mayville, not Maysville.
Mayville? Oh,
Mayville.
My bad.
Be careful. Be careful. I had a friend who lives in Maysville.
Right?
Maysville is on the other side.
In the northeast part of the state, and everyone was asking him if he was okay after this tornado happened.
Okay, got it. I misread that.
Mayfield. Mayfield is down that way. Okay,
yeah.
So Mayfield that way, Maysville this way.
Yeah.
No.
It doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter.
No, I mean,
there,
it's good to know.
Yeah, like during the snow,
I'll even take that one step farther. The Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting, again, a great outlet. Please read it.
Okay.
They did I do write them emails from time to time. So anyway, but they did a report about during the coronavirus, they canceled in-person visitations to several jails.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the really horrible part was they contracted out the phone calls, so people were paying like $3 a minute to speak to anyone on the outside.
It was shocking.
And then there was another article they released in Shelby County, that person's scum. I wrote that the person in charge of this jail there must be scum. I wrote that on the page. They literally said, "Oh, we can't do virtual hearings because we can't run a fiber cable into the jail." So these people missed all these visits.
That was Shelby County.
Yeah, people's cases got backed up like by a year or so.
I think, and by the way, I have to mention this because this just happened. Blanton and Namas have now filed this is according to Joe Sonka, this is brand new, House Bill 313 to target bail fund charities like the Louisville Bail Project. They're going to try to make the Bail Project illegal.
Oh, that's not going to fly.
Only national ones?
I don't.
I'm curious how that. Yeah,
they went on a big speech about how they were giving speeches about people who were bailed out and then committed violent crimes.
Oh gosh,
So,
man, it feels
Jason
like
Namus-
1994 all over again.
Yeah, Jason Namus is like 1 for 40 at this point. Like every once in a while he coughs up something I like, but boy is it not often.
I feel the need to point out there's no consistent nationwide definition of what constitutes a violent crime, and that makes it very frustrating to find any consistency in who's being locked up and for how long. I mean, like, there's some consistency across the state, but even so, at local levels, like jails, like a local justice system can kind of have some flexibility with that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, all I know is you didn't commit a violent crime if you donated money to Matt Bevin.
Speaking of which, one of Devin's pardons is now running for constable in Campbell County.
Oh, that's exciting.
Interesting.
Did not the one that chopped off someone's head?
No, he was selling methadone, but
Okay,
he
all
said
right.
it was okay. He
Yeah,
said-
well, it's okay. I'm sure. Is he gonna? I'm curious. Is he gonna try a religious angle on that? This will be
I
quite
think
exciting.
It's cute when he does it. Let me find out.
This is gonna be very exciting if he tries to.
J.R. Roth, Campbell County political activist.
Oh, that's
Now
quite
running for
exciting.
constable. It's gonna be a crowded primary season this year. I'm
But
really
anyway,
looking forward to it.
though, I mean,
Okay, but yeah. Continue.
that's just the thing, man. I mean, I've seen this time and again. It's like Daniel Cameron got up there and tried to argue before the state Supreme Court that we needed to get rid of what's that called, when expungements.
Yes.
He wanted you to pay money to be expunged. You've done your debt to society.
Yeah.
You've been out for over 10 years. And Daniel Cameron, because I guess they need more money in the Justice Department, wants your money to expunge your
Where all of it
record.
goes anyway.
That's the thing. It's like these folks, and it's roundly bipartisan on this.
Oh, it's
This is
completely
not- like,
bipartisan.
they
I'm taking
honestly
shots at both sides.
No, they see prison as a way to make money, and in Winchester,
Well, I mean, we also loan out prisoners to clean up county roads and things like that. It's
Yeah.
done at like every level.
And now
They
the
do that a
big thing
ton
in Winchester
Florida.
is, I don't know what part we've had of this, but we've been up in, politely up in their faces for a couple of years now, going like, yo, you need to start letting Winchester out of jail. And so their idea is like, okay, well then, but then we have this empty jail. So I know what we'll do. We'll get a bunch of state and federal prisoners, and they'll pay us $150 a day. Those are good prisoners. They pay good. $150 is a lot of dollars a day.
They're determined to keep it full.
They are, yeah, they absolutely are. They were getting low on people, and so they're making a deal with the FBI and the marshals.
Well,
and they're
that's
gonna,
always the problem with any kind of expansion. Is
Yeah.
If they build it, they'll fill it.
Yes.
And that's what always
Well,
makes me nervous.
it's
that they
like
could be
Field
on
of
the verge.
Dreams.
And
Yeah.
because once it's full, they then feel like they have the sway to say, oh, well, it's so full, we have to have
We need
more
another
beds.
one, yeah.
Even though it's full on purpose because you won't let it not be.
Well, and I'll take it even a step further, and this gets back to the fundamental libertarian in me. We do this to ourselves every time we say, hey, there should be a law for that.
Yes.
We
Yep.
do this to ourselves. Every time we say there should be a law for that, somebody's going to put someone in jail over it and
Well,
make money off them.
I think that is why there's such an issue with people feeling that laws don't apply to them, because in a sense they don't.
Yeah.
Laws only apply to people who get heavily policed, and laws are not made in any sort of sensible way.
No.
So there are some that I would be like, I mean, yeah, that's a weird law. Why do we have that? Is that actually relevant? There are others that relate to values I share and make a little more sense to me. But they
was the one we're
don't all
talking-
make sense. They don't all have to make sense to me. There's a million people making these laws.
George Brown, the 77th district, forgive me if I got this wrong, but the 77th district state house guy, just introduced a bill to make it a misdemeanor to leave your gun around where a kid can get it. And this is being sold as a law that will prevent accidental shooting of children in homes, but
Making
it will
things
not.
illegal doesn't prevent
It will not
anything.
prevent that. Yeah, and I mean, like the purpose of making.
Are you sure you're not a libertarian? Hold on. Roll back here.
Being that I don't have a consistent definition for what that means, I can't really answer that.
No. Just the statement right there. But
I do lean heavily
things
anarchist.
illegal
Yeah.
doesn't prevent anything. I just want to put that on the record on the radio here.
Oh, I'm a registered Democrat, but
Yeah.
only so I can vote in the primary. I'm not a Democrat.
I'm a Democrat because of Jimmy Carter and my parents, and God damn it.
I mean, I was raised a Democrat. Granted, like me and my parents are kind of like the black sheep of the family, and that
Yeah.
we weren't Republicans. I feel like everybody else is still very,
Yeah.
very strictly Republican.
I have family members from
Republican family, to put it
all
mildly.
ends of the spectrum. I have a Sandersite family member. I have a Clinton family member. My grandfather, rest in peace, was a big fan of Eisenhower. And my grandmother, rest in peace, was a big Trumpian. So I have the
Got a
whole.
little bit of everything.
I have it all over the spectrum. It's probably why I'm a libertarian. But
My family, both sides of my family, have been liberal as possible. That for like 4 or 5 generations straight, if not longer. I'm actually, I wouldn't call myself conservative in any way, shape, or form. But my family's getting confused because I don't go along with the Democratic Party line anymore. They're like, "Well, does that mean that you're a Republican?" It's like, no. Definitely not a Republican.
That's the problem with that view of like only a binary option with anything. It's seen as it. Well, if you've said out loud that you are not A, you must be B.
Exactly.
Even though maybe you're neither.
Which is religious thinking. I
Maybe
get that
there's
a lot.
an entire alphabet of options we're not looking at.
See, this is one of the main reasons I can't be a libertarian, is because you all have a bunch of like paleo-libertarians who are basically Republicans who smoke pot, and I can understand them without wanting to hang out with them. And then you have your religious hoodoo voodoo economic guys who gatekeep everything, and I don't do well with anybody with a theory about economics because I'm an economic atheist. And so anytime you meet a economic religious fanatic, they're like, "Oh, you're not the same. You're not Catholic? You must be a Satanist." Like, no, neither. I actually just don't
These are
believe
the
either
only
of you.
two.
Yeah, but it's exactly, if you ain't Baptist, you ain't really Christian. I was like, okay, well, so I run into these libertarians who really want to engage me on Mises and stuff like that, and they're just not going to like what I have to say.
Well,
So-
I am a member of the Mises Caucus. But that being said,
You and Randall.
that being said, I do think that there are definitely economic principles that most of us agree on in the Libertarian Party. And then there's some people in the Libertarian Party who don't agree with some of these core principles that I'm very curious why they're there. I asked them, like, why don't you go join the Greens then?
Libertarians are shockingly good on environmental protection.
Yeah.
Like, better than the Democrats. It's
No,
amazing.
so this guy, I asked this question. He said,
Yeah.
I align more with you than the Greens, which just shocked me. I was like,
Yeah.
you literally disagree with every economic principle me and the rest of the people in the leadership have. But you're with us because I guess you don't. It was quite shocking.
Libertarians are consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they're hard to understand because they're lost in their hoodoo and a lot of it's economic. But like libertarian of the 4 major parties, I guess you could say 5 now, they're the only ones with an actual ethos. They're the only ones that have like foundational works. Like if you wanted to read, if you were like, I'm interested in joining this Democratic Party, I've read a lot about it. What book would you recommend? I'd be like,
We do read a lot of books.
I really
we
like
read
The
too
Little
many
Prince.
books.
It's excellent. I mean, my favorite 2 libertarian authors are actually Lysander Spooner. Have you ever heard of Lysander Spooner?
He's a
that
really
name, but I
interesting
don't-
cat.
He was a libertarian abolitionist
Very
who lived
interesting
before the Civil
cat.
War, and he
Yeah.
was actually really right on. Right on. And also, I love P.J. O'Rourke, and I'm sorry P.J. O'Rourke has fallen out of favor because so much of what you're talking about, like the whole thing about like not making things illegal because you're going to put somebody in jail, that was central to his philosophy. Always was. But
Well, I'm a troublemaker because I originally got involved probably after watching too many John Stossel documentaries on ABC. Back before he got canceled. But
it's too many. 2? 8?
But I watched it, and he just pointed out these very basic things that were crazy, like the suing McDonald's over hot coffee.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
Or, just some of these very basic
Wait,
things.
no. Okay, no, you got that one wrong. No, that wasn't over hot coffee. That woman suffered permanent nerve damage.
No, what was I thinking of? There was another one with Starbucks.
That is one that, like, when you just say it, it sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous, and then when you find out
Yeah.
the extreme temperature, it's like, oh, well, that's a little more understandable.
Yeah, that woman got really hurt. I mean, but
Yeah,
there's different. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting that story's been around long enough that everybody knows the truth about it now. Because in the '80s, everybody was like, "That's so silly."
I
Suing over
remember
hot
even
coffee.
when I was a kid, like
Yeah.
the truth wasn't really that common. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, can you believe this woman? That's ridiculous."
Yeah.
Then as an adult, I mean, only the last couple of years, I was like, "Oh, that's actually kind of a good reason to need money."
Yeah,
I think
medical
the
treatment.
documentary that really did for me, now I'm thinking about, was one where he pointed out that, like, the cost of being a small business and there constantly being lawyers suing you for regulations that you supposedly didn't meet, and big businesses obviously met them because they wrote the laws. And that was a big deal to me. But even then, like, I read a book, it was in 8th grade, I think, where it was called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Politics. And in there was this chapter called The Big Tent Theory, And that pretty much turned me off right there. that was like the end of it for me there. But then I still campaigned for the Democrats with Bashir, and then when Obama got elected, and they turned around and said, "Oh, hey, everything you did to me, Hillary, that's fine. You can be Secretary of State." That was it for me.
Really?
It's like, oh.
You're perspicacious on that one. I let that go. It was actually...
I have to admit, I've been told I'm a person that's like almost like too strident. Like, I've been told by everyone I'm the most principled person they know. Like...
well, I'm sorry, I know Jeff Young. So
I do. I met Jeff Young too. He's pretty principled.
His principles are literally written on the signs attached to his body.
God, yeah.
That's how I met him. I just happened to be in Frankfurt, and I was like, "Who is this person? They are interesting."
Yeah.
He and they're extremely different people. But we're talking about Winchester. He and Rory Houlihan are just, both of them have this problem with they so completely believe in things that have so completely fallen out of fashion that people just don't even know how to handle it. Like, they are just so dedicated and principled and care so much about an America that the rest of us is pretty sure is just gone. I mean, God bless Jeff. He just doesn't want us to die in a nuclear fire.
It's beautiful.
I appreciate that about him.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think there's a way to remain principled, but have a discussion that's not just "no, you're wrong."
Yeah.
Well, I hope I tried to.
I agree.
That's the challenge.
I'm not that kind of person. I'm much more I
hope I've accomplished that here today.
Oh, you're doing great.
I don't know what
same.
Robin
I mean,
previously thought of libertarians before she walked in this room.
I was very confused. I'm slightly less confused, although I think it would be a very long conversation. I just need to go read the platform.
Just read the
We just have to do
platform.
another
Read the
show
platform.
sometime, 'cause
We fought over the platform. We had several votes fighting over
Clearly
the
worked on
platform.
it to refine it.
Well,
So-
we do need to talk about Clark County jurisprudence, but you know what? Honestly, we need to drag in a fiscal court member and ask them to their face, or somebody from the city commission, which is
Yeah.
possible. But I really want as much as I love Henry Branham. He is fantastic. Henry Branham is so cool. He is smart. He is clever. He is one of the best meeting organizers I've ever met in my life. He's a gentleman. He's a scholar. But you know what, man? He honestly thinks that it's okay to make $30 a day, $35 a day, off of having a poor guy in jail. He thinks that's a reasonable way to balance a budget.
And that's
very
the biggest
disgusting.
issue there is that so much of the county money comes in through the jail, but so much is also spent on the jail and on the police force in general.
Yeah.
Now, what specifically that's going to, I can't verify. I'm not saying
Well,
that,
it's very
oh my god,
expensive.
you're all getting paid too much or something like that. I would have to break down the actual specifics of it, but those are kind of harder to find within the departments.
Well, jailers, they just raised their starting pay to $17 an hour. Jailers don't make a lot.
Yeah.
The rest of them, I'll just say that I have no problem with them keeping their money. I just want them to stay in their office and spend their pension on Amazon and just stop bothering the rest of us, because seriously, they need to stop. A couple of agencies in particular.
Here we go.
Well, no, the Winchester police need to stop making so much work for everybody else, and they've needed to stop for a long time, and I mean, they're getting better. It's been 3 years since they accidentally killed somebody in a high-speed chase. I'll say that's progress. Sure, that's fantastic.
Keep that going.
Yeah, keep that going, guys. Good system.
There you go.
But I mean, I'm not aware of them humiliating anybody on the street as much as they were a couple of years ago. But I mean, there's some really serious problem, and I mostly find it goes back to those guys. The sheriffs are mostly happy. The sheriffs are mostly older guys who retired. They're not really looking for trouble. They'll
Sheriffs in general, my understanding of their office, they don't seem to be as proactive as police forces.
Yeah.
Police forces actively patrol in a way that I don't think the sheriff's office does.
Yeah, in a way that I don't think they should. I'm completely opposed to stealth. What are they called? The shark cars or whatever they're called. The police cars that don't have lights on them. That's nonsense. You should
I
own
disagree that. I disagree that we need people out looking to get someone in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
People would call me crazy if I was out doing that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, if you're called a police officer, it's okay to go out looking for how to have to lock someone up, charge them fees, and potentially make them lose their job, hurt their relationship with their kids. There's so many.
Our police don't have to think about it that way, because our police in Winchester are at the end of a very long chain of command.
Right.
That's really random. Like, I think we've discussed this before, but like the Winchester police are run by the police chief, who is hired by the city manager, who is hired by the city commission, who serve at the pleasure of the mayor.
Yeah.
So they're pretty much just doing their own thing. They just do what they feel like. And there's been some really bad incidents. Maybe less than there used to be. I can't say for sure, but there's a few cases like the 70. Well, anyway, I shouldn't really get into. Why not? The 75-year-old woman who they dragged out of. Oh, leads back to exactly what I was talking about. 75-year-old woman. The cop that pulled her over on French Avenue. Pulled over. Her name's Sophia. I forgot her last name. She's from Greece. She's lived in Winchester for 50 years, but she's from Greece. She's lived in Winchester longer than this kid's been alive, but she's from Greece. This guy, pure old school Winchester dumbass, thought that since he couldn't understand her perfectly, she must be on drugs. And humiliated her and then dragged her down to the jail and threw her in, and where she couldn't get her phone call. And they ended up letting her out of the jail on her own recognizance at 2 a.m. without ever getting a phone call, without shoes. Meanwhile, her family's just thinking she's disappeared off the face of the earth. They have no idea where she is.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that cop didn't think this through, didn't think of what he was doing to this person or their family or how much he was costing them. I mean, like, as far as he's concerned, he did his job. He dropped her off at the jail. He doesn't have to think about it
It's
anymore.
that negligence.
Well,
It's
and
kinda
on
why.
top of
it's
that-
not even that he was like, oh my God, I'm out to make this woman's
Yeah.
day terrible or to have lasting consequences. It wasn't, I doubt there was that level of awareness.
Yeah.
It's just that negligence causes so much harm.
Yes.
Well, and then on top of that, you show me the fines they assess to people, even when they're found innocent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it blows
Why
my
would you
mind.
Why would you pay to be held against your will?
Dude,
That's
in-
ridiculous.
In 2019, I got put in jail in Winchester because I got pulled over for going through a yellow light, and it turns out that my license in Kentucky was suspended from a traffic ticket in 1999. Well, I didn't know, and I had my Texas license with me because I was driving on my Texas license at the time. The cop didn't know how to look up a Texas license, so he just put me in jail in case. And it happened to be Christmas. And by the way, when you're in that jail, they say they fixed this, but they probably haven't. You don't get your phone call. So I ended up spending the night in jail, waiting for them to get paperwork through, when I did literally nothing wrong at all. I went through a yellow light on a Texas driver's license. And there's famous people, like what the wrestler Al Snow has actually been in our jail. Like, our jail is famous for just grabbing people by accident. Like the guy who ended up...
Makes me nervous to drive over there tomorrow.
Yeah, no, you have to be careful in Winchester. You do. And everybody knows it. Like, you can go to jail for absolutely nothing in Winchester, and it's not like that in the rest of America.
And now you can get COVID for it.
Well, the thing about, like, not letting people out on bail and then getting them the thing where they're not out on bail and then they catch COVID in jail and they miss their appearances. Like, come on, guys.
Just like taking this little tumbleweed of badness and letting it.
And they're trying really hard. Like, they're doing this home incarceration thing now. Where they've got like 80 people in Winchester. They're trying to get it up to 150. Where the people they have anklets on and they're.
But man, that gets expensive too because there's a daily fee for those anchors.
Oh, they make a lot of money from it
There's
too.
a daily fee for the monitoring. I mean, yeah, it's.
But
just
it frees
another
up
way.
space in the jail so that we can get more profitable prisoners in it.
Yeah, because we want those stipends.
Yeah.
I held your people. Pay me.
And I feel like this is the mistake, and I don't know how to correct it. And I really like these people. Like, Jailer Doyle's a nice guy. Henry Branham's like my hero. I'm tremendously fond of every single person on commission and fiscal court. But they all see a poor person as something that can be squeezed for $35 a day. And I just don't know how to get them to stop.
It feels that way with people who are struggling with addiction or just don't have anywhere to live because, we can just arrest them and make the streets prettier. I mean, I hear all of this talk. It's very consistent across the county. People will say the number one issue, even looking back at previous candidate statements for previous elections, decades ago, the number one issue is drug abuse.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, how do we actually address that? And then when it comes to solutions, everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want to deal with that."
Well, I'm not going to
That's
say
not pretty.
I'm not going to say precisely who said this, but one of our electeds told me, if they're in jail, they're not overdosing. And I was like,
That is not true.
They can overdose.
no, then he proved it. He was like, no, I know exactly. I was like, well, that seems specious. And he's like, no, I can show you exactly how many doses of Narcan we use in a jail in a month. And I was
Sure.
like, okay, well, maybe you're right. Maybe people are not overdosing
I'll
as
say
much
that's
in jail.
not widely true.
It's
Even if it's true at ours.
I was more like, it's missing the point, because then they get out and they overdose, and like, we didn't want these people dead. These are our friends and family and neighbors, and after they're gone, we miss them for a very long time. You know,
When
I have
we
a
talk
lot of
about
friends
any
who
group
died.
of people is
Yeah.
like not human or not like us.
Yeah,
They're bound to get screwed over, and I mean that's the thing. Is like it could be us. It could be any of us.
yeah, it could be us, and like we're next if we're not careful. Speaking of which, the next DJ is here. So
Hey,
hi.
hey,
So
what's going on, man?
we have 90 seconds left. Make your closing statements.
My closing statement, we're going to be across the street at the campus cornerstone with the Libertarian Campus Group, so come on out if you're listening to this and you're bored. And just look us up on the internet. You know, we're at lpky.org. The 6th District itself has a very vibrant Facebook page with 17,000 followers, Matt Jones. And
Not one of them.
and yeah, just come check me out. It's been great being on here. I'm Charles Altendorf.
Always a pleasure, Charles.
See, now that's too many followers. Now I'll have an excuse. It's like, well, that's overwhelming. We can't do that. I'm Robin Kunkel. I'm running for Winchester City Commission, and I would love to have conversations with you. I may not accept all the random Facebook friends from strangers, but please send me a message if there's a topic you want to discuss. We can have a phone call and meet you for coffee. I would love to hear what's important to you.
Yeah. And my name is Geoff Sebesta. We need to mention our friend Eric Heimel, who is really into giving you food for reptiles. He delivers food for reptiles. It's an interesting gig.
Bugs on Wheels.
Bugs on Wheels, that's what it's
Look
called.
at his
yeah.
Facebook photos
Yeah.
if you just want to see cute reptiles.
Yeah,
Precious
yeah.
photos.
Winchester's always had a thing for reptiles, oddly enough. We never got to
Interesting.
so much stuff. I wanted to talk about the mythology of Winchester, and we just didn't touch it. But, well, whatever.
Someday.
Anyway, this has been Radio Free Eskipakafiki. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you had as pleasant of a time as we did. And now the new DJ is here, so I'm going to press the button that makes the disclaimer go now. No, I'm not. That was a terrible segue. Here's the new DJ.